All right, so I will only have 20 minutes with you two. And then the next 25 minutes will be QA sessions for everyone who has a personal, no, not personal, working, sorry, questions for Audrey or Eva. Can use Slido to raise your questions, and then Audrey and Eva will personally answer your questions. All right, so first, let's dig more into the concept and the actual force of DevOps. I understand it has its challenges, its opportunities, and Trend Micro uses it very, very well. In terms of specific details, Eva, can you share some of the stellar experience or stellar team that you've observed?
Okay, actually, DevOps, the most important thing is that you need to have a quick response and correct response to customer requests, right? That's the most important spirit. No matter what platform, what technology you use, that's the end goal you want to achieve.
Right.
And I think in the past 1 year, that Trend Micro went through this journey of we transform ourselves from a software release. Usually, software company, we have like 18 months release cycle. You finish one version, you throw it over to the salespeople, and then bye-bye. The developer don't know what's going on in customer side. But this year, we really embrace this DevOps, and a lot of our products, including like our TrendX engine, which is using AI in real time. We can know which file from customer's environment is possible of causing damage. Or we have this very famous virus buster check, which is, in Taiwan we call it 防诈达人. That thank you, Audrey, for helping that group and posting the recommendation.
Business Weekly.
Yeah.
Just Business Weekly. Just that.
Yeah, and so those are the important things that we learned, that using DevOps, you can get closer to customer and respond. And in our cybersecurity business, most important thing, give timely protection for our customer, right?
I see. Audrey, from your response, I can tell that you're very aware of this DevOps concept and method, right?
Yeah.
I used to be an agile coach, so yes, well, still am within the government.
Yeah. And then did you see their work, their hard work in putting all this into application throughout the past years?
Yeah, definitely. I think the intrapreneurship, right, the kind of work that I'm doing within the cabinet, as well as the virus buster team was doing within Trend Micro, has the same spirit, right? A small team of people recognize a new emerging need. People understand this is not just about spam and virus in emails, but also in end-to-end encrypted channels such as Line, which is also popular in Japan, right? And without sacrificing security or privacy, we discovered the need that if people respond to the misinformation, the conspiracy theory, the scams, and so on through volunteer participation, this is what we call 众人之事众人助之, or everyone's business with everyone's help. And so this collective intelligence informed our response strategy and pivoted into a pretty good product, the Virus Buster in Trend Micro's case.
I see.
Yes.
Of
I'm sorry.
course. Eva, go ahead.
I'm also the fan, so I want to ask the question.
I understand. Go ahead.
Please do.
So, see, our question is that what is the challenge of DevOps process, right? And even within our company, we are a private company, and we should be able to control everything. But the biggest challenge is data silo.
That's right.
Each department has their own data, and it's very hard to connect all this data. But I imagine that in government agency, this bureaucracy and data silo might be like, so how did you overcome that? And for instance, the mask, within such a short time, you come up with the mask map. And how did you do that?
Yeah.
How did you break that silo?
That's right. So a very interesting approach that we take is so-called open government approach. In Mandarin, we call it 开门造车, which is very difficult to translate. To build a car behind open doors, maybe. Right. So The idea, very simply put, is not to connect those silos arbitrarily, but rather ask those silos, is there a way for you to publish the data as soon as you collect the data to the open? So instead of silos exchanging data behind closed doors, they actually exchange data behind open doors. In terms of the mask availability, for example, it's the individual pharmacies agreeing to publish the real-time availability data every 30 seconds. Imagine if they sent the data back to the NHI and the NHI review it manually and publish every day, then everyone will have to trust the NHI as a third party. However, and when the pharmacies agree to publish as soon as they're collected, then it's a participatory accountability, meaning people queuing in line after they see someone swipe their national health card, they can actually see on their phone using maybe 疾管家, a line bot or something, that the availability decrease in real time, so that it decreased by 2 and 2 and 2 initially. Nowadays it's by 10 and 10 and 10. But if it rather increases, people will call 1922 right there, right? So because of this rapid response cycle, this is not about someone integrating those data manually, but rather asking them to publish soon as they collect.
Yes, Eva, you pick up the word trust within this conversation. How do you enhance trust between teams in terms of private sector, and how do you enhance trust between different government sectors? That's very interesting too.
I think I want to borrow your word.
Yes.
It's very hard to translate, but it's open door.
That's right.
Right. I think open door probably is the way to build the trust, right? Probably you can illustrate more about this part.
Yeah, definitely. When I joined the cabinet, there is already an open data policy, but I upgraded it into real-time open data and gave it a moniker Open API using the Open API standard. I think it's a Linux Foundation standard 3.0. And because we share the same standard, people come to rely on each other for service delivery. And when people fulfill those service delivery APIs like a contract over time, then people understand what is better if they develop themselves, and what is better if they just make sure that everyone can build upon the same API. A case in example, initially the mask availability is in the form of maps, but for people with seeing difficulties, maps is not very friendly. And so line bots, voice assistants, many other ways of doing things, actually more than 140 different ways of doing things started to come. And whenever someone say, why there's no American English version, we're like, here's the API, build one. And why there is no indigenous Amis version, build one, right? So basically by saying, 你行你来, if you can build, you build it. This is how we ensure that we trust the citizens and the citizens trust us.
Right, but when you do this open door, don't you face a lot of questions about the security, the data safety?
Definitely. And because of that, we make a very clear delineation. The national health insurance data is not part of the public internet. It's behind VPN, behind its own network. On the other hand, the public data set, the open data data set, is on the public internet and also replicated across more than 140 different citizen developers. And in a sense, it's almost like a distributed ledger, in the sense that if we modify it, everybody would know, right? And so because of that, trust is much more easily verified when it's replicated across many development groups. But of course, the central operation technology, that of course is not connected to the public internet.
Right, so I think it's like in security field, we say, if you want to have trust, first you need to start with zero trust.
Definitely.
Zero trust.
Yeah, zero
means
trust.
that you need to verify.
Verify first,
and
then
after
trust.
that you can.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. Audrey, you are one of the most high-profile digital minister across Asia, if not across the world. I know you have great publicity in French, German as well. But for government officials from Japan, my next question will be, you've moved so much different digital policy throughout the past four years so far. Which one is the most memorable one for you? And you think it's so meaningful and I did the right decision?
Yeah, I think one of the key decisions that we made, and it's not just me, but also Premier Lai Qingde and Su Zhencheng, and also Minister of South Portfolio Luo Bingchen, and Gulas Yudaka, but collectively we made a decision to counter the infodemic, that's the disinformation crisis, that's the conspiracy theories and so on, without administrative takedown. Now, this is actually very unique because mostly in Asia, when people see there's a disinformation crisis, the intuition is to enable the cabinet to be able to take down messages from the public internet so it doesn't spread and so on. This is like a lockdown in pandemic. We're not saying it's not useful, but it does hurt the trustworthiness between the social groups. And it also makes other sort of solutions very difficult to grow. Once you have a lockdown, people just stay at home and there's no way for social organizations to build, right? And so just like lockdowns, we make sure that we counter the infodemic with no takedown by relying on, for example, the third-party fact-checkers that Trend Micro works with, right, through the Virus Buster and so on. And so this is like asking people to contribute more, to wear a mask, to wash their hands, to share good hygienic practices and so on, so that it actually reinforces democracy rather than concentrates more power into the administration. And so this, what we call the people-public-private partnership model, starting with people, the social sector, the media, the fact-checkers and so on, and moving on to the public sector without taking down from the private sector. I think this is one of the more memorable choices that we made.
Excellent.
This is excellent. That deserves a round of applause.
Yeah. I think this is the attitude that's one of the, at least one of the big reasons that Taiwan is like immune from the whole world.
Yeah, and it's so important for the whole world to get this message.
Right.
Eva, as a company leader and CEO, how do you lead Trend Micro to combat COVID throughout 2020? Because as far as I know, you guys level up when everybody is taking a huge hit.
Yeah, actually, I must say, I always say we are lucky because we are totally relying on digital. We are a global company, so we rely on digital communication a lot. So when COVID-19 happened and we all need to work from home, actually it's less challenging for Trend Micro. But I must say one thing that is really impressive, which is our Philippine operation center. They were the call centers. Call centers usually is like a bunch of people need to sit there receiving the calls, right? And Philippines don't have very good infrastructure.
Right.
But within 3 days, our whole 1,000 support people take their computer from office back to home, set it up, and answer. During all this 1 year, they all work from home. Our customer satisfaction did not drop at all.
Oh, wow.
So I think that is probably, like you say, they trust. I believe the power is in those people. They feel they have a mission. They believe they are doing something that is important. When, during the COVID-19, immediately within one month, we see 260% increase in spills, phishing email.
That's right.
Just all these bad guys trying to utilize this opportunity to grab the money, right? So we all very angry about those bad guys. And that's the sheer mission that we have that I think enable people to do the right thing.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Since we have limited time, my final question, since we're on safety issues and data privacy, I think it's so important when we into the new norm for the following years, I suppose. So both from your experience from public sector and your experience from private sector, what's government's role in this and what's her vision about enhance the whole Taiwan, especially data protection, data privacy? And as a company, you provide solution to the whole world. What's your vision and what's your the next step vision throughout the whole space?
Okay.
Sure. So what we will do definitely is in order to make sure that privacy is designed into all the government digital services, we have published, for example, the Government Digital Service Guidelines, or the GDSG. as well as working with, for example, the European Union on the GDPR adequacy. And that will definitely enhance the protection and the kind of psychological safety, not just the cybersecurity safety, which is, of course, the foundation, but also the secure by default arrangements, so that when people feel that their privacy may be compromised, there is a reliable way to get what really is happening to the people. I think I will use one example in consumer right protection. In Taiwan, when you buy something over an e-commerce shop, you're entitled to 7 or 10 or 14 days of trial period. And if you don't like what's being delivered to your house, you can just repackage it and send it back and get a refund. Now, this is protected by the Consumer Protection Council, and people understand generally that if a website says that by clicking this, by default, you forfeit the chance to try for 7 days or 10 days or whatever, that's actually null and void. It doesn't mean anything. You can still return that because it's protected by law. And if there's any tensions arise from this kind of labeling, people know that they can call the consumer protection officials, the 消保官 system, that then will fight for them to get a fair treatment and so on. So we need a very similar arrangement for privacy protection, for personal data protection, and that is what we are now focusing on.
I see. It's clear. Yeah. Eva, I have a statistic here. For the past year, Trend Micro has become a $1,006 million company. That is a world-leading brand. And as I suppose, safety data and safety garden, it's such a cold thing and technical thing. How do you transfer into a warm brand and provide solution to the whole world? And moving forward, what's your vision?
I think for cybersecurity company, the most important brand is trust. And I kept on saying that for 33 years now, since we founded the company, we do nothing but cybersecurity, right? And so customer trust us. I think the business model is very important. If one hand is selling data and one hand is trying to do data security, that's not trustworthy, right? So I think that sometimes I call Trend Micro a very single-minded company. We just very persistently doing cybersecurity. But I'd like to mention something about post-COVID-19 security. I think this pandemic actually accelerated the digital transformation in a lot of sectors, right? So many people, no matter it's work from home, study from home, or the smart factory, or even smart cars, smart construction infrastructure, all of this is accelerating into the digital platform. But what it means to security is it widens the, we call it attack surface. There's so many places that the attacker can attack. They can attack from the home office into the enterprise. They can attack from the say, smart meter, right? The smart grid, smart meter, and then attack the country's infrastructure. So there's a lot more that we need to do to protect this widened attack surface and correlate all this data, like you mentioned. Sometimes we need to understand how is the traffic normal data, right? We get it from government. What is the traffic pattern? Then we can analyze that somebody is hacking that traffic light to making a different pattern, right? So I think it's a very important thing for cybersecurity and working with the government sector, because we think our specialty is cybersecurity. Government has a lot of these citizenships data and citizens infrastructure, and these data interchange and collect, like you say, people, private, public, all combined together.
That's right. Yeah. Our President Tsai Ing-wen has a saying that cybersecurity is a matter of national security, 治安机关, for precisely this point.
Right.
Thank you for sharing. My time is up.